Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Agnanatimirandasya Gyananjana Salakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kada Mahyam Dadati Swaparantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yutapatakalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrijatam Saganaragunatanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savarutam Parijana Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Sri Visakanvitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dina Bandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gourangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Prisabhanusute Devi Pranamami Haripriye Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhya eva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Namam Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pristaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvisesha Shunyavadi Pashatyaya Deshatarine Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Udirayet Shinvatam Svakata Krishna Punyashravana Kirtana Ridyantastoya Bhadrani Nidunuti Suhrit Satam Nashtaprayesva Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttamasloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtiki. Before reciting this Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, which is the very means of conquest, one should offer respectful obeisances unto the personality of Godhead, Narayana, unto Narayana Rishi, the supermost human being, unto Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, and unto Srila Vyasadeva, the author. Sri Krishna, the personality of Godhead, who is the Paramatma, super soul in everyone's heart, and the benefactor of the truthful devotee, cleanses desire for material enjoyment from the heart of the devotee who has developed the urge to hear his messages, which are in themselves virtuous when properly heard and chanted. By regular attendance in classes on the Bhagavatam and by rendering of service to the pure devotee, all that is troublesome to the heart is almost completely destroyed, and loving service under the personality of Godhead, who is praised with transcendental songs, is established as an irrevocable fact. Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam ki jai, Śrīla Prabhupada ki jai. Hare Krishna, Pranjal Prabhu, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Śrīla Prabhupada.
Oh, only two people.
Yes, Prabhu. Canto 1, Chapter 17, text number 24. Tapah saucham daya satyam iti padah krite krita adharmam adharmam shaistrayo bhagna smaya sangamadaistava. Tapaha, austerity, saucham, Shaucham, cleanliness, Daya, mercy, Satyam, truthfulness, Iti, thus, Padaha, legs, Krite, in the age of Satya, Kritaha, established, Adharma, irreligiosity, Amshai, body parts, Traya, three combined, Bhagna, broken, Smaya, pride, Sangha, too much association with woman, Madai, intoxication, Tava, your. Translation by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. In the age of Satya, truthfulness, your four legs were established by the four principles of austerity, cleanliness, mercy, and truthfulness. Austerity, cleanliness, mercy, and truthfulness. But it appears that three of your legs are broken due to rampant irreligion in the form of pride, lust for woman, and intoxication. Oh. Okay, 1 second. Purport. Oh, I need to take water. Okay, purport. Oh, what is going on there? Okay. The deluding energy or material nature can act upon the living beings proportionately in terms of the living beings falling prey to the deluding attraction of Maya. Moths are captivated by the glaring brightness of light, and thus they become prey to the fire. Similarly, the deluding energy is always captivating the conditioned souls to become prey to fire of delusion, and the Vedic scriptures warn the conditioned souls not to become a prey to delusion, but to get rid of it. The Vedas warn us not to go to the darkness of ignorance, but to the progressive path of light. The Lord Himself warns that the deluding power of material energy is too powerful to overcome, but one who completely surrenders unto the Lord can easily do so. But to surrender unto the lotus feet of the Lord is also not very easy. Such surrender is possible by persons of austerity, cleanliness, mercy, and truthfulness. These four principles of advanced civilization were remarkable features in the age of Satya. In that age, every human being was practically a qualified Brahmana of the highest order, and in the social orders of life they were all Paramahamsas, or the topmost in the renounced order. By cultural standing, the human beings were not at all subjected to the deluding energy. Such strong men of character were competent enough to get away from the clutches of Maya. But gradually, and as the basic principles of Brahminical culture, namely austerity, cleanliness, mercy, and truthfulness, became curtailed by proportionate development of pride, attachment for woman, and intoxication, the path of salvation or the path of transcendental bliss retreated far, far away from the human society. With the progression of the age of Kali, people are becoming very proud and attached to women and intoxication. Hmm. By the influence of the age of Kali, even a pauper is proud of his penny. The women are always dressed in an overly attractive fashion to victimize the minds of men, and the man is addicted to drinking wine, smoking, drinking tea, and chewing tobacco, etc. All these habits or so-called advancement of civilization are the root causes of all irreligiosities, and therefore it is not possible to check corruption, bribery, and nepotism. A man cannot check all these evils simply by statutory acts and police vigilance, but he can cure the disease of the mind by the proper medicine, namely advocating the principles of Brahminical culture or the principles of austerity, cleanliness, mercy, and truthfulness. Modern civilization and economic development are creating a new situation of poverty and scarcity with the result of blackmailing the consumers' commodities. Hmm. If the leaders and the rich men of the society spend 50% of their accumulated wealth mercifully for the misled mass of people and educate them in God consciousness or in the knowledge of Bhagavatam, certainly the age of Kali will be defeated in its attempt to entrap the conditioned souls. We must always remember that false pride or too high an estimation of one's own values of life, undue attachment to women or association with them, and intoxication will divert the human civilization from the path of peace. However much the people clamor for peace in the world, we must always remember that the false pride or too high an estimation of one's own values of life, undue attachment to women or association with them, and intoxication will divert the human civilization from the path of peace, however much the people clamor for peace in the world. The preaching of the Bhagavatam principles will automatically render all men practice to austerity, clean both inside and outside, merciful to the suffering and truthful in daily behavior. That is the way of correcting the flaws of human society, which are very prominently exhibited at the present moment. Text number 25. The Krishna Dirash Prabhu Dandapram Jai Shri Prabhupada.
Oh, yes, Prabhu. Blackmailing. Yes,
Oh, will you read, Prabhu?
yes.
Haribol.
Idanim, idanim dharmapadiste satyam nivartayen vata tam shidriste adharmojam anartena adi alihi. Idanim, at the present moment, dharma or personality of religion, pada, legs, they of you, satyam, truthfulness, never that all being alone, somehow or other, yata, whereby, tam, that, chief was Sati trying to destroy the Dharma, the personality of your religion. I am this, and Prerna by deceit, Vedanta version, Kali, Kali personified, Slation. You are now standing on one leg only, which is your truthfulness, and somehow or other hobbling along, but Kal personified, Kali, flourishing by deceit, is also trying to destroy the left. Purple. The principles of religion do not stand on some dogmas or man-made formulas, but they stand for primarily regulative observances, namely austerity, cleanliness, mercy, and tolerance. Mass of people must be educated to practice these principles from childhood. Austerity means to accept voluntary things which may not be very comfortable for the body, but are conductive for spiritual realization. For example, fasting. Fasting twice or four times a month is a sort of austerity which may be voluntarily accepted for spiritual realization only, and not for any other purposes, political or otherwise. Fastings which are not meant for self-realization but for some other purposes are condemned in the Bhagavad Gita 1756. Similarly, cleanliness is necessary for body and mind, for the mind and the body. But cleanliness of the mind is necessary. Simply body cleanliness may exempt or may help to some extent, but cleanliness of mind is necessary and it is effected by glorifying the Supreme Lord. No one can cleanse the accumulated mental dust without glorifying the Supreme Lord. A godless civilization cannot cleanse the mind because it has no idea of God. And for this simple reason, people under such a civilization cannot have good qualifications. However, they may be materially equipped. We have to see things by their resultant action. The resultant action of human civilization in this age of Kali is dissatisfaction, so everyone is anxious to get peace of mind. The peace of mind was complete in Sati age because of existence of above-mentioned attributes of the human being. Gradually, these attributes have diminished in the Treta Yuga to three-fourths, and the Dwapar to the half. In this stage of Kali, they diminished to one-fourth, which is also gradually diminishing on account of prevailing untruthfulness. By pride, either artificial or real, the resultant action of austerity is spoiled. By too much affection for female association, cleanliness is spoiled. By too much addiction to intoxication, mercifulness is spoiled. And by too much lying propaganda, truthfulness is spoiled. The revival of Bhagavata Dharma can save the human civilization from falling prey to evils of all descriptions. Iyam cha bhumir bhagavata nasitarubharasate Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam yasya sarvata upakalpaka. Iyam is Shah and Bhumi, the surface of the earth, Bhagavata, by the personality of God, Nishya Niyasata, being performed by personality as well as by others. Full, great, Bara, burden, Sati, being so done. She must be by all auspicious. Tat, that, Padayan, Padan, yes, Sia, footprint, Sarvata, all around. Kuta, done. Kautaka, with fortune, translation. The burden of the earth was certainly diminished by the personality of God and by others as well. When he was present as an incarnation, all good was performed because of his auspicious footprints. Text 27. Sochati asukala sadhi durbhagavate ujjata sati apramanya upavajya sutrabhu. Rudrabo Shantinamiti Sochati, lamenting, Ashokala, and with tears in their eyes, Sadhi the chaste, Durvaga, or if most as if the most unfortunate, even like Ujjata or Lone Sati being so done, Abhamanya, devoid of Brahminical culture, Nripa, Vijaya, posed as the ruler, Shudra, lower caste of Shanti would enjoy Nam Ni Iti thus. Translation. Now she, the chaste one, being unfortunately forsaken, as if it were by the personality of Godhead, laments her future with tears in her eyes, for now she is being ruled and enjoyed by the lower class of men because as rulers. Purport. The Kshatriya, or the man who is qualified to protect the sufferers, is meant to rule the state. Untrained lower-class men, or men without ambition to protect the sufferers, cannot be placed on the seat of an administrator. Unfortunately, in this age of Kali, the lower-class men without training occupy the post of a ruler by strength of a popular vote, and instead of protecting the sufferers, such men create a situation quite intolerable for everyone. Such rulers illegally gratify themselves at cost of all comforts of the citizens, and thus the chaste Mother Earth cries to see the pitiable condition of her sons, both men and animals. That is the future of the world in this age of Kali, where irreligiosity prevails most prominently. And in the absence of such suitable king to curb their religious tendencies, educating the people systematically in teaching the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam will clear up the hazy atmosphere of corruption, bribery, blackmailing, etc. Okay, these are skills.
Shall I read, Prabhu?
Yes, no.
Hare Krishna. Tanwan Pranam. All glories to Srila Prabhupada.
Hare Krishna Prabhu Tanda Pram Jeshta Prabhupada.
Praise it. Okay, text 28. Text 28. Iti dharmam mahim chaiva santvayitva maharatah nishatam adade khadgam kaleye dharma hetave. Synonyms. Iti, thus, dharmam, the personality of religion, mahim, the earth, cha, also, eva, as, santvayitva, after pacifying, maharataha, the general who could fight alone with thousands of enemies, nishatam, sharp, adade, took up, khadgam, sword, kalaye, to kill the personified Kali, adharma, irreligion, hetave, the root cause. Translation purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai. Translation. Maharaj Parikshit, who could fight 1,000 enemies single-handedly, thus pacified the personality of religion and the earth. Then he took up his sharp sword to kill the personality of Kali, who is the cause of all irreligion. Purport. As described above, the personality of Kali is he who deliberately commits all kinds of sinful acts which are forbidden in the revealed scriptures. This age of Kali will certainly be full of all activities of Kali. But this does not mean that the leaders of society, the executive heads, the learned and the intelligent men, or above all the devotees of the Lord, shall sit down tight and become callous to the reactions of the age of Kali. In the rainy season, certainly there will be profuse rainfall, but that does not mean that men should not take means to protect themselves from the rains. It is the duty of the executive heads of state and others to take all necessary actions against the activities of Kali or the persons influenced by the age of Kali. And Maharaj Parikshit is the ideal executive head of the state, for he became at once ready to kill the personality of Kali with his sharp sword. The administrators should not simply pass resolutions for anti-corruptional steps, but they must be ready with sharp sword to kill the persons creating corruptions from the angle of vision of the recognized shastras. The administrators cannot prevent corrupt activities by following wine shops. They must at once close all shops of intoxicating drugs and wine and force punishment, even by death, for those who indulge in the habit of intoxication of all description. That is the way of stopping the activities of Kali, as exhibited herein by Maharaj Parikshit, the Maharatha. Text 29. तं जिघांसुम् अभिप्रेत्य विहाय नृप लाञ्छनम् तत्पादमूलं शिरसा समगाद् भय विह्वलः. Synonyms: tam, him, jigham, willing to kill, abhipretya, knowing it well, vihaya, leaving aside, Nripa Lanchanam, the dress of a king, Tat Padamulam, at his feet, Sirasa, by the head, Samagat, fully surrendered, Bhaya Vihvalaha, under pressure of fearfulness. Translation: when the personality of Kali understood that the king was willing to kill him, he at once abandoned the dress of a king and, under pressure of fear, completely surrendered to him, bowing his head. Purport: the royal dress of the personality of king is artificial. The royal dress sorry, the royal dress of the personality of Kali is artificial. The royal dress is suitable for a king or kshatriya, but when a lower class man artificially dresses himself as a king, his real identity is disclosed by the challenge of a bona fide kshatriya like Maharaj Parikshit. A real kshatriya never surrenders. He accepts the challenge of his rival Kshatriya and he fights either to die or to win. Surrender is unknown to a real Kshatriya. In the age of Kali, there are so many pretenders dressed and posed like administrators or executive heads, but their real identity is disclosed when they are challenge a real Kshatriya. Therefore, when the artificially dressed personality of Kali saw that to fight Maharaj Parikshit was beyond his capacity, he bowed down his head like a subordinate and gave up his royal dress. Text 30. Patim padayor viraha kripaya dina vatsalah sharanyo navadhich chalokya aha chedam hasan iva. Synonyms: patitam, fallen down, padayoh, at the feet, viraha, the hero, kripaya, out of compassion, dinavatsalah, kind to the poor, sharanyaha, one who is qualified to accept surrender, not, avadhit, did kill, slokyaha, one who is worth of being sung, aha, said, cha, also, idam, this, Hasan, smiling, Iva, like. Translation: Maharaj Parikshit, who was qualified to accept surrender and worthy of being sung in history, did not kill the poor, surrendered, and fallen Kali, but smiled compassionately, for he was kind to the poor. Purport: even an ordinary Kshatriya does not kill a surrendered person. And what to speak of Maharaj Parikshit, who was by nature compassionate and kind to the poor. He was smiling because the artificially dressed Kali disclosed his identity as a lower class man, and he was thinking how ironic it was that no one was saved from his sharp sword when he dressed to kill, but the poor lower class Kali was spared by his timely surrender. Maharaj Parikshit's glory and kindness is therefore sung in history. He was a kind and compassionate emperor, fully worthy of accepting surrender even from his enemy. Thus, the personality of Kali was saved by the will of providence. Text 31. Rajovacha nate गुणाकेश यशो धराणाम बद्धाञ्जलेर्वै भयम् अस्ति किञ्चित् न वर्तितव्यं भवता कथाञ्चन क्षेत्रे मदीये त्वम् अधर्म बन्धुः. Synonyms: Sri Raja Uvacha. The king said, not te, your Gudakesha Arjuna, Yashaha Dharanam, of you who inherited the fame, Baddhanjaleh, one with folded hands. Why? Certainly, Bhayam, fear, Asti, there is, Kinchit, even a slight, neither, Vatitavyam, can be allowed to live, Bhavata, by you, Kathanchana, by all means, Kshetre, in the land, Madiye, in my kingdom, Tvam, you, Adharma Bandhu, the friend of irreligion. Translation: The king thus said, we have inherited the fame of Arjuna. Therefore, since you have surrendered yourself with folded hands, you need not fear for your life. But you cannot remain in my kingdom, for you are the friend of irreligion. Purport: The personality of Kali, who is the friend of all kinds of irreligiosities, may be excused if he surrenders, but in all circumstances he cannot be allowed to live as a citizen in any part of a welfare state. The Pandavas were entrusted representatives of the personality of Godhead, Lord Krishna, who particularly brought into being the battle of Kurukshetra, but not for any personal interest. He wanted that an ideal king like Maharaj Yudhishthira and his descendants like Maharaj Parikshit should rule the world, and therefore a responsible king like Maharaj Parikshit cannot allow the friend of irreligiosity to flourish in his kingdom at the cost of the good fame of the Pandavas. That is the way of wiping out corruption in the state and not otherwise. The friends of irreligiosity should be banished from the state, and that will save the state from corruption. Text 32. Tvam vartamanam naradeva deshv anupravrittoyam adharma pugaha lobho nriptam chauryam anaryam amho jeshta cha maya kalhascha dambaha. Synonyms: Tvam, you, Vartamanam, while present, Naradeva, a man god or a king, Dehishu, in the body, Anupravrittaha, being all over, Ayam, all these, Adharma, irreligious principles, Pugaha, in the masses, Lobaha, greed, Anritam, falsity, Chauryam, robbery, Anaryam, incivility, Am, Amhaha, treasury, Jeshtaha, misfortune, Cha, and Maya, cheating, Kalaha, quarrel, Cha, and Dambaha, vanity. Translation: If the personality of Kali or irreligion is allowed to act as a man god or an executive head, certainly religious principles like greed, falsehood, robbery, incivility, uh, treachery, misfortune, cheating, quarrel, and vanity will abound. Purport: The principles of religion, namely austerity, cleanliness, mercy, and truthfulness, as we have already discussed, may be followed by the follower of any faith. There is no need of turning the coat of a Hindu to Muhammadan to Christian or some other faith and thus become a renegade without following the principles of religion. The Bhagavatam religion urges following the principles of religion. The principles of religion are not the dogmas or relative principles of a certain faith. Such religious principles may be different in terms of the time and place concerned. One has to see whether the aims of religion have been achieved. Sticking to the dogmas and formulas without attaining the real principles is no good. A secular state may be impartial to any particular type of faith, but the state cannot be indifferent to the principles of religion as above mentioned. But in the age of Kali, the executive heads of state will be indifferent to such religious principles, and therefore, under their patronage, the opponents of religious principles, namely greed, falsehood, cheating, pilfery, etc., will naturally follow, and so there is no meaning in a propaganda crying to stop corruption in the state. Next 33. Does anyone want to read? I have seen a message in the chat. Yeah, Dheeraj Prabhu, do you want to read now?
Hare Krishna, I'm audible.
Yes, Prabhu.
Yep, I can read.
Sure, carry on, Prabhu.
Navartivayam. Just 1 minute.
Would give you the ability.
Sorry. Navartivayam tadadharma bandho dharmena satyena cha vartavye brahma varte yatra yajanti agner yajneshwaram yagnavitana vichna no not vartitvam deserve to remain tat therefore adharma religiosity bandho friend dharmena with religion satyena with truth cha also vartivye being situated in brahmavarte place where a sacrifice is performed yatra where yajanti duly performed yagne by sacrifices or devotional services yagneshwaram unto the supreme lord the personality of godhead yagna sacrifice vitana spreading vigna experts translation. Therefore, O friend of religion, you do not deserve to remain in a place where experts perform sacrifices according to truth and religious principles for the satisfaction of Supreme Personality of Godhead. Purport Yagneshwara, or the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is the beneficiary of all kinds of sacrificial ceremonies. Such sacrificial ceremonies are prescribed differently in the scriptures for different ages. In other words, sacrifice means to accept the supremacy of the Lord and thereby perform acts by which the Lord may be satisfied in all respects. The atheists do not believe in the existence of God and they do not perform any sacrifice for the satisfaction of Lord. Any place or country where the supremacy of the Lord is accepted and thus sacrifice is performed is called Brahmavata. There are different countries in different parts of the world, and each and every country may have different places of sacrifice to please the Supreme Lord. But the central point is in pleasing Him is ascertained in Bhagavatam, and it is truthfulness. The basic principle of religion is truthfulness, and the ultimate goal of all religions is to satisfy the Lord. In this age of Kali, the greatest common formula of sacrifice is the Sankirtan Yajna. That is the opinion of the experts who know how to propagate the process of yajna. Lord Chaitanya preached this method of yajna, and it is understood from this verse that anywhere and everywhere the sacrificial method of Sankirtan yajna may be performed in order to drive away the personality of Kali and save the human society from falling prey to the influence of Kali. Text 34. Yasmin Harir Bhagwan ija, ijam, ijyamana ijatmamurtir यजतां सतन तनोति कामन अमोघान शिरजनगमानाम् अंतर्बहिर्वायुरिवास्तात्मा Yasmin. In such sacrificial ceremonies, Harir, the Supreme Lord, Bhagavan, the personality of Godhead, Ijyamana, being worshipped, Ijya Atma, the soul of all worshipable deities, Murti, in the forms, Yajatam, those who worship, some, welfare, Tanoti, spreads, Kaman, desires, Amoghan, inviolable, Shira, Jagamanam, of all moving and the unmoving, Antah, within, Bahi, outside, Vayuhu, air, Iva, like, Eshaha, of all of them, Atma, spirit soul. Translation. In all sacrificial ceremonies, although sometimes a demigod is worshipped, the Supreme Personality of Godhead is worshipped because he is super soul of everyone and exists both inside and outside like the air. Thus, it is he who only awards all welfare to the worshipper. Purport. It is even sometimes seen that demigods like Indra, Chandra, etc. are worshipped and offered sacrificial awards. Yet the rewards of all such sacrifices are awarded to the worshipper of the Supreme Lord, and it is the Lord only who can offer all welfare to the worshipper, the demigods. Although worship cannot do anything without the sanction of the Lord, because the Lord is the super soul of everyone, both moving and non moving. Hare Krishna. Can somebody else please read? I have some work. I'm extremely sorry, devotees. I have actually office meeting going on.
Thank you so much, Prabhu, for reading.
Yep. Hare Krishna.
Dear Prabhu, please accept my humble obeisances. O glory to Srila Prabhupada. Hare Krishna. Jai. I just came to greet you all. Hare Krishna. Hare Bol.
Yes, Prabhu. Thank you so much for coming to greet us. Are you on a mission?
Yes, I'm doing Harinam Sankirtan now.
Haribol.
Yeah, Hare Bol. So, bye-bye. Hare Krishna.
Haribol. So we continue from text number 35. श्रीसुतौवाच परीक्षितैवम् अदिष्टाः सकलिर्जातवेपतु तमुद्यातासि माहेदं दन्दापानिमिवोद्यतम् Shri Sutavacha, Shri Suta Goswami said, Parikshita by Maharaj Parikshit, Evam das Adishtaha, being ordered, Saha hi Kali, he the personality of Kali, Jata, there was, Vipatuhu trembling, Tam him, Udyata raised up, Asim sword, Aha said, Idam das Dantapanim Yamaraj, the personality of death, Va like, Ujjatam almost ready. Translation. Sri, Sri Suta Goswami said, the personality of Kali, thus being ordered by Maharaj Parikshit, began to tremble in fear. Seeing the king before him like Yamaraj, ready to kill him, Kali spoke to the king as follows. Purport. The king was ready to kill him at once as soon as the personality of Kali would disobey his order. Otherwise, the king had no objection to allow him to prolong his life. The personality of Kali also, after attempting to get rid of the punishment in various ways, decided that he must surrender unto him, and thus he began to tremble in fear of his life. The king or the executive head must be so strong as to stand before the personality of Kali as the personality of death, Yamaraj. The king's order must be obeyed, otherwise the culprit's life is in risk. That is the way to rule the personalities of Kali, who create disturbance in the normal life to the state citizens. Text number 36. Kaliruvacha yatra kvavata vachyami sarvabhauma tavagnaya lakshaye tatra tatrapi tvamatte shusharasanam. Kali Uvacha, the personality of Kali said, Yatra, anywhere, Kva, and everywhere, Va, either, Ata, therefore, thereof, Vachyami, I shall reside. Sarvabhauma, O Lord or Emperor of the earth. Tava, your. Agnaya, by the order. Lakshaye, I see. Tatra, anywhere and everywhere. Tatra, Pia also. Tvam, your Majesty. Atta, taken over. Issue, arrows. Sarashanam, bows. Translation. O your Majesty, though I may live anywhere and everywhere under your order, I shall but see you with bow and arrows wherever I look. But it means purport. The personality of Kali could see that Maharaj Parikshit was the emperor of all lands all over the world, and thus anywhere he might live, he would have to meet with the same. The personality of Kali was meant for mischief, and Maharaj Parikshit was meant for subduing all kinds of mischief mongers, especially the personality of Kali. It was better, therefore, for the personality of Kali to have been killed by the king then and there instead of being killed elsewhere. He was, after all, a surrendered soul before the king, and it was for the king to do what was required. Text number 37. तन्मे धर्मः प्रीतं श्रेष्ठाष्टानं श्रीदर्ष्टुमर्हसि यत्रैवानियतो वत्स्या आदिष्टं स्तेनुशासनम्. That therefore, me, dharma, britam, of all the protectors of religion, Sreshta, the chief, Shtanam, place, Nirdeshtum, fix, Arhasi, may you do so, Yatra, where, Eva, certainly, Niyataha, always, Vatsye, can reside, Adishtan, permanently, situated, Te, your, Anushasanam, under your rule. Translation. Therefore, O chief amongst the protectors of religion, please fix some place for me where I can live permanently under the protection of your government. Purport. What is going on? The person of Kali addressed Maharaj Parikshit as the chief amongst the protectors of religiosity, because the king refrained from killing a person who surrendered unto him. A surrendered soul should be given all protection, even though he may be an enemy. That is the principle of religion, and we can just imagine what sort of protection is given by the personality of Godhead to the person who surrenders unto him, not as an enemy, but as a devoted servitor. The Lord protects the surrendered soul from all sins and all resultant reactions of sinful acts. Bhagavad Gita 1866. Text number 38. Sutavacha Abhyarthitastada tasmai sthanani kalaye dadau Dyutam panam striya shuna Yatra dharmaschaturvida. Sutavacha. Sutta Goswami say, Abhyartita, the spring petitioned, Tada at that time, Tasmai unto him, Shtanani places, Kalaye to the personality of Kali, Tadau gave him permission. Dyutam gambling, Panam drinking, Striya illicit association with woman, Sunaha animal slaughter, Yatra wherever, adharma, sinful activities, chaturvida, four kinds of. Translation. Sutta Goswami saying, Maharaj Parikshit, thus being petitioned by the personality of Kali, gave him permission to reside in places where gambling, drinking, prostitution, and animal slaughter were performed. Purport. The basic principles of irreligiosity, such as pride, prostitution, intoxication, and falsehood, counteract the four principles of religion, namely austerity, cleanliness, mercy, and truthfulness. The personality of Kali was given permission to live in four places particularly mentioned by the king, namely the place of gambling, the place of prostitution, the place of drinking, and the place of animal slaughter. Srila Jiva Goswami directs that drinking against the principles of scriptures, such as Sautra Maniyagna, etc., association with women outside marriage, and killing animals against the injunctions of scripture are irreligious. In the Vedas, two different types of injunctions are therefore the pravrittas, or those who are engaged in material enjoyment, and for the nivrittas, or those who are liberated from material bondage. The Vedic injunction for the pravrittas is to gradually regulate their activities towards the path of liberation. Therefore, for those who are in the lowest stage of ignorance and indulge in wine, woman, and flesh drinking by performing Saudra Maniyagna, association of woman by marriage, and flesh eating by sacrifices are sometimes recommended. But such recommendation in the Vedic literature are meant for a particular class of man and not for all. But because there are injunctions of the Vedas for particular types of persons, such activities by the Pravrittas are not considered adharma. One man's food may be poison for others. Similarly, what is recommended for those in the mode of ignorance may be poison for those in the mode of goodness. Shirajiva Goswami Prabhu therefore affirms that recommendation in the scripture for a certain class of men are never to be considered adharma or irreligious, but such activities are factually adharma, and they are never to be encouraged. The recommendations in the scriptures are not meant for encouragement of such adharmas, but for regulating the necessary adharmas gradually toward the path of adharma. Following in the footsteps of Maharaj Pariksit, it is the duty of all executive heads of states to see that the principles of religion, namely austerity, cleanliness, mercy, and truthfulness, are established in the state. And the principles of irreligion, namely pride, illicit female association or prostitution, intoxication, and falsity, be checked by all means. And to make the best use of bad bargain, the personality of Kali may be transferred to places of gambling, drinking, prostitution, and slaughterhouse. if there are any places like that. Those who are addicted to these irreligious habits may be regulated by the injunctions of the scripture. In all circumstances, they should not be encouraged by any state. In other words, the state should categorically stop all sorts of gambling, drinking, prostitution, and falsity. The state which wants to eradicate corruption by majority may introduce the principles of religion in the following manner. 1. 2 compulsory fasting days in a month, if not more, austerity. Even from the economic point of view, such 2 fasting days in a month in the state will save tons of food, and the system will also act very favorably on the general health of the citizens. 2. There must be compulsory marriage of young boys and girls attaining 24 years of age and 20 years and 16 years of age respectively. There is no harm in coeducating in the schools and colleges provided the boys and girls are duly married, and in cases there is any intimate connection between a male and female student, they should be married properly without illicit relation. The Divorce Act is encouraging prostitution and this should be abolished. 3. The citizens of the state must give in charity up to 50% of their income for the purpose of creating a spiritual atmosphere in the state or in the human society, both individually and collectively. They should preach the principles of Bhagavatam by A. Karma Yoga, doing everything for the satisfaction of the Lord, B. By regular hearing of the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam from authorized persons or realized souls, C. Chanting of the glories of the Lord congregationally at home or at places of worship, D. Rendering all kinds of service to Bhagavatas, engage in preaching Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, and E. Residing in a place where the atmosphere is saturated with God consciousness. If the state is regulated by the above process, naturally there will be God consciousness everywhere. Gambling of all description, even speculative business enterprises, is considered to be degrading, and by encouraging gambling in the state, there is a complete disappearance of truthfulness. Allowing young boys and girls to remain unmarried more than the above mentioned ages and license for all animal slaughterhouses of all description should be at once prohibited. Hmm. The flesh eaters may be allowed to take flesh as is mentioned in the scriptures, and not otherwise. Intoxication of all description, even the smoking of cigarettes, the chewing of tobacco, or drinking of tea must be prohibited. Haribol. Okay, now we go to 6 Astakam prayers. This was really interesting purport.
Yes, absolutely, Prabhu. In fact, these are the regulative principles that we are supposed to follow while in Krishna consciousness. These are the same regulative principles.
Which verse is this?
Sorry, Prabhu. Did you say anything?
Yes.
Gambling, intoxication, illicit sex, and drinking.
Cheto darpanamarjanam bhavamaha davagni nirvapanam श्रेयः करवचन्द्रिकावितरणं विद्यावधू जीवनम् आनन्दं बुद्धिवर्धनं प्रतिपदं पूर्णामृतस्वादनं सर्वात्मस्नपनं परं विजयते श्रीकृष्णसङ्कीर्तनम्
नाम्नामकारि बहुधा निज सर्वशक्तिस् तत्रार्पिता नियमितः स्मरणेन कालः एतादृशी तव कृपा भगवन् ममापि दुर्दैवम् ईदृशम् इहाजनि नानुरागः
तृणादपि सुनीचेन तरोरपि सहिष्णुना मानिना मानदेन कीर्तनीया सदा हरि
न धनं न जनं न सुन्दरीं कवितां वा जगदीश कामये मम जन्मनि जन्मनीश्वरे भवताद्भक्तिरहैतुकी त्वयि
हैनन्दतनुजकिङ्करं पतितं मां विषमे भवाम्बुधौ कृपया तव पादपङ्कजा स्थितधूले सदृशं विचिन्तय
नयनं गदश्रुधारया वदनं गद्गदा हृदया गिरा पुलकैर्निचितं वपुः कदा तव नाम ग्रहणे भविष्यति
युगायितं निमेषेण चक्षुषा प्राविर्शायितं शून्यायितं जगत्सर्वं गोविन्दविरहेण मे
आश्लिष्य वा पादरतां पिनस्तु माम् अदर्शनान्मर्म हतां करोतु वा यथा तथा वा विदधातु लम्पटो मत्प्राणनाथस्तु स एव नापरः
Haribol. Glory to the Sri Krishna Sankirtan, which cleanses the heart of all the dust accumulated for years and extinguishes the fire of conditional life of repeated birth and death. This Sankirtan movement is the prime benediction for humanity at large because it spreads the rays of the benediction moon. It is the life of all transcendental knowledge. It increases the ocean of transcendental bliss and it enables us to fully taste the nectar for which we are always anxious.
O my Lord, your holy name alone can render all benediction to living beings, and thus you have hundreds and millions of names like Krishna and Govinda. In these transcendental names, you have invested all your transcendental energies. There are not even hard and fast rules for chanting these names. O my Lord, out of kindness, you enable us to easily approach you by chanting your holy names, but I am so unfortunate that I have no attraction for them.
One should chant the holy name of the Lord in a humble state of mind, thinking oneself lower than the straw in the street. One should be more tolerant than a tree, devoid of all sense of false prestige, and ready to offer all respect to others. In such a state of mind, one can chant the holy name of the Lord constantly.
O Almighty Lord, I have no desire to accumulate wealth, nor do I desire beautiful women, nor do I want any number of followers. I only want your causeless devotional service, birth after birth.
O son of Maharaj Nanda, Krishna, I am your eternal servitor, somehow or other fallen into the ocean of birth and death. Please pick me up from this ocean of death and place me as one of the atoms at your lotus feet.
O my Lord, when will my eyes be decorated with tears of love flowing constantly when I chant your holy name? When will my voice choke up, and when will the hairs of my body stand on end at the recitation of your name?
O Govinda, feeling your separation, I'm considering a moment to be like 12 years or more. Tears are flowing from my eyes like torrents of rain, and I'm feeling all vacant in the world in your absence.
I know no one but Krishna as my Lord, and he shall remain so even if he handles me roughly in his embrace or makes me broken hearted by not being present before me. He is completely free to do anything and everything, for he is always my worshipful Lord unconditionally.
Haribol, Shri
Hari bol.
Siksatkam ki jai, Chaitanya
Jai,
Mahaprabhu ki jai.
Jai.
Bahujanma Karayadi Shravana Kirtan Tabutana Paya Krishna Pade Premadan. If one is infested with the 10 offenses in the chanting of the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, despite his endeavor to chant the holy name for many birds, he will not get the love of God. That is the ultimate goal of this chanting. The 10 offenses against the holy name are as follows. The first offense is to blaspheme the devotees who have dedicated their lives for propagating the holy name of the Lord.
Second offense, to consider the names of demigods like Lord Shiva or Lord Brahma to be equal to or independent of the name of Lord Vishnu.
Third offense, to disobey the orders of the spiritual master or consider him as an ordinary person.
Fourth offense is to blaspheme the Vedic literature or literature in pursuance of the Vedic version.
Fifth offense, to consider the glories of chanting Hare Krishna to be imagination.
Sixth offense is to give some interpretation on the holy name of the Lord.
Seventh offense is to commit sinful activities on the strength of the holy name of the Lord.
Eighth offense is to consider the chanting of Hare Krishna one of the auspicious ritualistic activities offered in the Vedas as fruitive activities, karma kanda.
Ninth offense, to instruct the faithless person about the glories of the holy name.
10th offense is not to have complete faith in the chanting of the holy names and to maintain material attachments even after understanding so many instructions on this matter. It is also an offense to be inattentive while chanting. Every devotee who claims to be a Vaishnava must guard against these offenses in order to quickly achieve the desired success, Krishna Prema.
Let us offer our humble obeisances unto all the Let us offer our respectful obeisances unto all the Vaishnava devotees of the Lord. They can fulfill the desires of everyone just like these are trees, and they are full of compassion for the fallen conditioned souls.
Vanchakalpatarubhyascha kripa simvyo eva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha.
Nanda Gode Vaishnavi the Ki Jai, Shri
Jai,
Janita Gaura
Jai.
Nande Hari Hari